Judge Wallace. Judge.
John? Get your room.
I really didn't think we were going to have to start with something that basic.
Judge Wallace, Judge Chambers, District Court judges, federal judges, honored guests, members of the state judiciary, family, and friends. It is a thrill to be under the same roof with so many members of my family and so many close friends. I think that is one thing that makes an installation such a very special occasion, when the person who is going through the proceedings looks out and knows everyone in the room and recognizes them as friend and as family. John Gabroy, my good friend, introduced a number of members of my family. I want to introduce just a few more to you, if I may. My sister-in-law, Donna Roll, is here, and their daughter, Muffy Gallardo, and my nephew, Jorge Gallardo, and their children, Ana and Consuelo, are not here today. All right. My brother-in-law, Richard, who is married to my sister, Pat, my sister-in-law, Lisa O'Connor, and their two children, Megan and Ryan, my sister-in-law, Kay Lingeman, and her son, Walter, and my brother and sister-in-law, Kathy and John O'Connor, and their children, Ryan and Matthew. And I'm also very pleased to see my cousins, the Musgrave family, is also here. And let me also mention that I'm very pleased that my good friend and former Secretary Linda Sherry from the U.S. Attorney's Office also came here from Oregon to attend this installation. I'm also grateful for the number of state court judges, my friends from the Superior Court and the Court of Appeals that have come here to attend this installation. I can't tell you how much it means to me. Also present, when John introduced my sons, he mentioned that Patrick went to South Point. Also present is Father Leo McCarthy, the principal of South Point, and Sister Luisa Sanchez, the principal of Immaculate Heart High School. And I'm very pleased to see them here also. My dad had pneumonia earlier this year. This was a rather stressful and exciting year in many different respects for our family. And we are so happy that he's able to be here with us. When I graduated from law school, well, I guess when I started, it wasn't exactly a foregone conclusion. We had Robert in our first year of law school, and times were a little difficult. And Dean Ayers, Professor Ayers, was the dean of the law school at the time. And I can give you an idea of how rough things got. After the first year of law school, I went to work at the mines, and Lloyd will appreciate this, at San Manuel, 3,000 feet under the ground, as a chute tapper. And I was a washout, I have to admit that. And I had to go back to Dean Ayers, and I said, Dean, they're never going to make a miner out of me, they tell me, so you've got to do something to try to make a lawyer out of me. And because of his support and encouragement and help, I was able to complete my law studies. John mentioned our years in the county attorney's office together, when I had the chance to work with so many outstanding people and meet so many members of the state judiciary and work in front of them, and that was quite an honor. One of the individuals, I couldn't even begin to go through the number of people that were not only friends then, but have continued to be my friends through the years. But Randy Stevens, who is one of the top prosecutors in this country, was someone that took me under his wing. He taught me how to prepare a case for trial. He taught me how to try a case. He taught me how to bear up to losing a month-long trial to Bob Hirsch, which ought to be, I guess, mandatory training for a lot of prosecutors in this state. And he has been a good friend through all this, as has David Dingledine and a number of the members of the state judiciary, Bill Scholl, Rainer Collins, Mike Alfred, Rich Nichols. We all came out of the county attorney's office. And I'm very pleased to see those individuals here. another good friend of mine from the county attorney's office that is here today that has had so much to do with my standing here as Bates Butler, who was in the county attorney's office with me and who spoke with Mike Hawkins, who was the U.S. attorney for the district in 1980. And Mike hired me at that point, and I had the very good fortune to go to work for him at that time. Mike would surface again at another very critical time of my career, but after having the good fortune of working for Mike, I had the good fortune of working for Mel McDonald and then Judge Steve McNamee. And all of that training and the chance to again make more friends in the U.S. Attorney's Office and in the Public Defender's Office. Bernie Velasco, Frank Zapata, Fred Kay, and the Federal Public Defenders. Which isn't to say I didn't have friends in the Pima County Public Defenders either. I did. I just forgot to mention it. There are plenty of those also. Bill Calloway and John Knight and Fred Dardis. But in 1987, I had the privilege to join what Tom Slutz refers to as the Court of Second Guessers, and it was a wonderful occasion for me. Any of you who were at Bill Tinney's installation recall that he talked about how Mike Lacanina joined the Court of Second Guessers and left the private practice. When I applied for the Court of Appeals, Justice Gordon was the chairperson of the committee, and Mike Hawkins was one of the committee members. And I was very fortunate to have my name forwarded along with two other outstanding individuals. Now, ultimately, Governor Meekum selected me. And that meant two very important things happened in my life. First of all, I had the opportunity to become even closer friends with the members of the judiciary of this state. Secondly, it meant that for the rest of my career on the Court of Appeals, Lloyd Fernandez would tell me that there had just been a ruling down from a Superior Court judge in Maricopa County that invalidated all of Governor Meekham's judicial When I succeeded Ben Birdsall to the Court of Appeals, at that time, I also succeeded a gem of a man and a gem of a judge. On the Court of Appeals, I worked alongside, as you know, 5 diverse individuals and personalities. Judge Jim Hathaway, I was very honored to have as one of the speakers. Lloyd mentioned that Jim was on the Court of Appeals in 1965. That's the year I graduated from high school. There was 20 years difference between Jim Hathaway and I. Just to give you a glimpse of the composition of Jim Hathaway, last year he went to Florida for a vacation with his family, where they worked in a soup kitchen to feed the homeless for the entire time that he was there. Shortly after I met Jim on the Court of Appeals, I had an opportunity to come across a verse in the Old Testament book of Sirach that refers to how important it is to associate with wise people. And every time after that I saw that verse, I thought of Jim Hathaway. Lloyd Fernandez has been my office mate for a long time, longer than, not longer than I choose to remember, but for a long time. Lloyd has fretted since the day I arrived on the Court of Appeals and talked to me very briefly. He fretted. He would tell me, "John, you are too Irish, too Catholic, and far too poor to be a Republican." He also introduced me to golf. There might be the slightest element of truth to the claim that I recruited my 3 sons so that I would have someone to always play golf with. But one time when Lloyd and I were out on the golf course, a vendor came up. This is shortly after I started. Jim Carruth is one of the group that also goes to the Northern Arizona Judicial Conference, but this was one of the golf courses here in Tucson. And a vendor came up to me and said, "Do you want to buy a beer?" And Lloyd was with me, and I said, I don't think so. I'm trying to concentrate on my game. And the vendor said, "Fellow, I've been watching your game as I've been coming up, and believe me, no amount of beer is going to do any harm." Larry Howard had to leave, but he was here earlier. He was a Renaissance man on the court, and I appreciated the fact that he never grew tired of my constant discussions with him and approaching him regarding cases that we had pending. And Joe Livermore, the 4th member of the court, of course, was a former dean of the U of A Law School, very bright and very cordial. only one time did I not see Joe cordial, and this happened fairly recently. I had a reserved parking space at the Court of Appeals, and I arrived at work one morning, and there was a generic pickup truck parked in my spot. And you have to understand, I was under a little bit of tension and stress with all the process going on, and I tried to do the reasonable thing, so I called the Capitol Police and asked them to tow it away. It turned out it was Judge Livermore's truck, and he found out about that before they towed it away. But one time it stretched his cordiality just a little bit. Mike Lacanina. What can I tell you about Mike you don't already know? Mike made things very interesting on the court. My affection for my colleagues on the Court of Appeals is apparent from the fact that I had Judge Hathaway and Judge Fernandez on the program, and had I been able to find a way to work in Judge Livermore and Judge Howard, they would have been on the program also. I have a lot more sense than to put a microphone in Mike Lacanina's.